Elias Turner had always been a careful man. He measured flour to the ounce, swept his shop floors in perfect straight lines, and never once spoke louder than necessary. A man of routine, a man of predictability. But nothing in his neatly calculated world had prepared him for her. He'd ordered a bride, well-requested one, politely through the Mail-Order Matrimonial Gazette. He'd written his letter with trembling hands, describing himself as stable, financially responsible, and of gentle temperament in return. He asked only for someone kind, patient, and modest of character. He hadn't specified height. He hadn't thought to. So when the stagecoach rumbled into Harrow's Point that blazing noon, kicking up a storm of red dust, Elias stood waiting with a bouquet of pressed wildflowers in two small walnut boxes, one holding a brass wedding band, the other a pair of silver hairpins. He adjusted his vest, cleared his throat, practiced his greeting under his breath. "Good afternoon, miss. Welcome to..." Then the door of the stagecoach opened. A boot hit the ground first, not delicately, not timidly. It landed like thunder. Then another. She emerged like a legend walking out of the sun. Tall, no, towering. Broad-shouldered, sun-bronzed, with forearms stronger than most men in town. Her braid hung over one shoulder like a rope from a fortress tower. The skirt of her travel dress swayed around powerful legs as she stepped fully into view. She wasn't simply tall. She was formidable. Elias forgot how to breathe. The townsfolk, who had gathered to witness the spectacle of another mail-order marriage, fell silent. Even old man Grady, half-deaf and wholly oblivious, squinted as if doubting his own eyes. The stranger scanned the street with a calm, assessing gaze. Then her eyes landed on Elias, the small man holding flowers, like a frightened altar boy. "You Elias Turner?" she asked, voice steady as a drumbeat. He opened his mouth. No words emerged, though he nodded. She gave a single approving grunt. "Good, I'm Margaret Fletcher, your bride." A gasp rippled through the watching crowd. Elias blinked. Margaret? The name he had read in graceful cursive on delicate stationery? The woman who had written of enjoying poetry at dawn and raising doves? She didn't look like she raised doves. She wrestled bears for breakfast. "You're..." "Taller than I expected," he stammered, instantly wishing he hadn't. Margaret's lips twitched, not quite a smile, but not displeasure either. "You're smaller," she replied plainly. "But I don't mind." He nearly fainted. Someone snickered behind them. Then someone else whispered, not quietly, "That ain't a bride, that's a blacksmith." Hope he ordered a step stool for the wedding night. Laughter followed. Margaret didn't flinch, didn't turn, didn't even blink. But Elias did. He felt something hot crawl up his spine, not embarrassment, but anger for her, for his bride. He stepped forward, standing as tall as his modest frame allowed. "Miss Fletcher," he said, loudly enough for the whole town to hear. "May I carry your luggage?" She blinked at him, then slowly smiled. Not a mocking smile, not a superior one, a warm one. "Suit yourself," she said, and handed him a trunk that nearly dislocated his shoulder. He staggered. She steadied the other end effortlessly, as if lifting nothing more than a loaf of bread. Together, side by side, awkward, mismatched and silently determined, they walked down the dusty road toward the little general store that was now their home. The whispers followed them. But so did curiosity, for no one in Harrow's Point had ever seen a marriage begin like that. And no one yet knew that Margaret Fletcher would soon change the town forever.
The first morning of their marriage began with silence. Not the peaceful kind, the awkward kind. Elias sat stiffly at the small wooden table in his kitchen, watching as Margaret filled the space like she'd been poured into a room too, small to hold her. She ducked beneath the doorframe out of habit. Her chair creaked beneath her, though it held. She ate her breakfast, 3 eggs, 5 biscuits, and half a slab of ham, with the quiet efficiency of someone who believed food existed solely for function. Elias nursed a single biscuit like it was a diplomatic negotiation. They did not speak much. He didn't know how. She didn't seem to need to. But when she glanced up and found him staring, she paused. "What is it?" she asked. He nearly swallowed his fork. "Nothing. Just admiring your posture. Very stable," he sputtered. She raised an eyebrow, then gave a huff of laughter. The tension eased a fraction. After breakfast, Elias slipped into shopkeeper mode. Margaret followed him downstairs to the general store, where barrels of flour sat beside bolts of cloth and jars of peppermint candy. The bell over the door rang as customers began to drift in. Mrs. Abernathy, a woman whose tongue was sharper than her knitting needles, marched straight to the counter. "So," she declared, peering up at Margaret, "you're the bride." "Yes," Margaret replied calmly. Mrs. Abernathy looked her up and down as one would inspect livestock. You cook? Reasonably. Sew, if needed. Sing hymns? No. Mrs. Abernathy's lips pinched. Well, I suppose we take what we get. Margaret didn't respond. Elias did. Mrs. Abernathy, he said sharply, you're blocking access to the sugar. She gasped as if he'd slapped her. Well, I never. I suggest you do sometime, he muttered under his breath. The bell rang again as she stormed out, scandalized. Margaret looked at him then, not just glanced, looked. There was warmth in her eyes. Respect. By noon, word had spread. People came not to shop but to look. Children peered through the windows to see the giant lady, men pretended, to browse while whispering. Women clutched their bonnets like Margaret might snatch them clean off, but she ignored them all. Until the screaming started. Outside, on Main Street, chaos erupted. A horse had broken loose, wild-eyed, reins flapping, galloping straight through the path of a young boy carrying a stack of firewood. The child froze. Elias dropped what he was holding, but Margaret was faster. She strode out the door like thunder, snatched the boy by the back of his shirt, and lifted him clean into the air with one hand. Just as the horse barreled toward them, the crowd screamed. She didn't. Instead, she turned, planted her feet, and caught the horse by its bridle. The horse reared back, muscles straining. So did she. For one breathless moment, woman and beast stood locked in battle. Then, with a force that defied every expectation, she shoved the horse backward. It stumbled, regained footing, snorted and calmed. Silence swept the street. Even the wind seemed to hush. Margaret set the boy down gently, patted the horse's neck, whispered something too soft to hear. Then she looked up. Every eye in Harrow's Point was upon her. Elias stepped forward, heart pounding with pride he had never known he could feel. That, he declared to the stunned townsfolk, is my wife. No one laughed this time. Someone clapped. Then another. Then another. In seconds, the street thundered with applause. Margaret Fletcher smiled, fully, openly, brilliantly. Not at them, at him.